Well, hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having an incredible day. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. Hope it's been a great week for you. My name is Jeff Street. I teach people how to make money from home online. And today, I'm just really excited to be here with everybody today because today is my 100th consecutive day of going out and doing a Facebook Live. 100 consecutive days. My good friend Simon Chen challenged me 100 days ago to start to do a live every single day. And so we started doing it 100 days ago. And I'd always heard that in 30 days of doing anything, it turns into a habit. So I was like, great, I'm going to do it 30 days consistently so I can turn it into a habit. And then I was reading the book by David Goggins, You Can't Hurt Me. And in his book, it said 66 days to create a habit. I was like, oh man, I got to keep going. Then I goes on like day 60 something. I was on Shane Douglas's leadership training and he talked about 86 days in a row to create a habit. I'm like, oh, I got to keep going. But, over this 100-day journey, a lot of great things have happened. I've met a lot of amazing new friends, been able to actually, ended up being on a TV show, with the good friend Yvette LeBoy, just based on her seeing me do those lives. As a matter of fact, my gym asked me to do a video testimonial for them, just based on, seeing some of these, lives and just some really cool things. Met some great people that were strangers, became friends and just learned a lot of different things myself. But, one of the things that I did over these last 100 days is I actually read the book Rejection Proof by Jia Zhang. And one of the things that Jia Zhang talks about in the book Rejection Proof, is he talked about 100 days in a row of rejection. That was his challenge. That's what he did. So I said, you know what? 100 days in a row, that's what I'm going to do. And it's so fitting that today is day 100 and that we ended up doing 100 days because one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to home-based business, one of the biggest things that I've learned in my 15 years as a full-time home-based business owner is I learned how to go out and detach the emotions from the yeses and the nos. And there was something I had learned years ago from a mentor of mine, Mr. Jordan Blank, about how to detach the emotions from the yeses and the nos. And it was a game that he taught me that forever changed my perspective when it came to, building a home-based business, building a network marketing business, because the yeses and the nos is what messes people up. See, people need to focus on the exposures and not the yeses and the nos. And here's what Mr. Jordan Blank taught me. He taught me about the 100 squares of exposures. And he talked about, he said, listen, Jeff, you can't control what your upline does. You can't control what your downline does. All you can control is you. And the two things you got to work on is personal development and personal recruiting. Becoming that better you. Becoming the person that more people want to follow. So, for me, I've immersed myself over the last 15 years in the world of personal growth and self-development, and just going through and doing these 100 days in a row, it was another big form of personal growth for me. I said to somebody earlier on, like, oh, great job, you did 100 days in a row. Man, like, I had to really stretch myself. And stretching ourselves, that's the key, because the law of the universe is we're either growing or we're dying. We're either rotting or we're ripening. And here we are, 100 days. Matter of fact, somebody drop a comment that says 100 days. Drop a comment that says 100 days. But back to how I learned how to detach my emotions. Monica Bragg, great to see you. Yes, 100 days in a row of Facebook Lives. But again, back to day 100, it's the time to talk about the 100 squares. See, this is one thing that I learned. This is something I learned years and years ago about, the fact that, we all get affected by our emotions. And this business can be very psychological. And sometimes when you haven't gotten a yes for a little while, you feel defeated. So one of the things my mentor taught me, he said, Jeff, make a grid of 100 squares. And on every one of those 100 squares goes a personal exposure. Yes, Julie Flood, 100 days. And it's somebody that you've personally shown the business to. Doesn't matter if they say yes, doesn't matter if they say no, just somebody that personally has seen a presentation, their name goes on a square. The date goes on the square, what the response was, were they interested, did they get started, were they not interested, did they want a follow-up call, whatever the case may be, their name went on a square. And all of a sudden, it shifted the way I looked at things. All of a sudden, it shifted my mindset. And days that I got a couple no's, it wasn't it didn't bother me. It actually excited me because I was adding their name to my grid. It was another square. And what my mentor told me, he said, Jeff, by the time you get to 100 exposures, as long as you go through 100 exposures and you follow up with people the right way, by the time you get to 100, some of those squares are going to turn into great leaders in your organization. And you're going to get promoted to next pin level in your business. So I took on that challenge, and it's something I've been doing for years. And I can tell you story after story after story of a bunch of squares that nothing happened from. But I can tell you some stories of some squares that where I found some amazing people, or I found people that introduced me to some amazing people. I'll never forget, getting a chance. As a matter of fact, I actually met my wife through this process. Somebody that was a square on my grid that I followed up with for months. When I followed up with them, they ended up introducing me to somebody who introduced me to somebody who ended up introducing me to my wife. So not only can the 100 squares build your business, but it can also really go and affect your life in a big, big way. And, I'm across from my, desk in my office, and I look at this every single day. Every day, my goal is to actually add at least one name, to my grid. One person I've personally exposed every single day. I've filled up over 100 squares since COVID started, which was a goal of mine. But again, it allows you to detach the emotions from the yeses and the nos. And instead of worrying about, is it a yes or a no, all you're worrying about is those exposures. All you're worrying about is the fact that you filled up another square on your grid. And when you can detach the emotions, that's where success starts to happen. And shortly, we're going to be starting the 100 Squares Challenge, which you'll be learning about shortly. But what I want you to do, drop a comment that says 100 squares. On the 100th day, we had to talk about the 100 squares. So drop a comment that says 100 squares. Drop that comment. And if you think today's content was valuable, if you think that somebody would get something out of this, go ahead and hit the share button. Click the share button so somebody else could go out and get this information. Drop a comment that says 100 squares. Again, 100 squares. This is the game that I play. This is what my mentor taught me. This is how I learned how to detach my emotions from the yeses and the nos. And instead of worrying about the result, just worrying about the fact that it was the exposures. And here's what happened through that. When people said no, I wasn't upset. I didn't make them feel bad. I thanked them for being an exposure. I thanked them for taking a look. And once I could detach my emotions, man, some big, big things happened for my wife and I and for our home-based business. So again, my name is Jeff Street. I teach people how to make money from home online. Go ahead and drop up, hit the share button, drop a comment that says 100 squares. Drop that comment today. 100 squares. Hope everybody has an amazing rest of their night. 100 days in a row of Facebook Lives. Man, I've learned so much, from going through this and can't wait to keep doing it. But God bless everybody. Have an incredible rest of your night, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. God bless everybody.